I'm here with Senator Elizabeth Warren. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So we are right now witnessing the all-out assault against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is an agency that has returned $21 billion to 205 million consumers since it was brought onto the scene. What does it say that Republicans are attacking this agency?
Let's talk about first how this agency got built, because I think it's actually relevant to all this. So for a long time, we've had a bunch of consumer protection laws, and they were out there, so you don't get cheated on a mortgage, so you don't get cheated on a credit card, so you don't get cheated on your checking account, your student loans, right? But it was spread among a whole bunch of different agencies, and for none of them was it their first job. So what happened is some really smart, sleazy MBAs back in the late 90s, early 2000s figured out we could make a lot of money on mortgages and really cheating people on them. So they did. I mean, they made a gazillion dollars.
Yeah.
They also built this thing that crashed the entire economy and cost 10 million people their homes, millions of people their jobs, millions of people their savings. So coming out of that, we said, we're going to build this new agency, and it's going to have one job. It's going to gather up all those laws that are supposed to protect you on your credit cards and your student loans. We're going to put it with one agency, and we're going to make them the cop on the beat. They are the cop on the beat. Now, if you were making your money by cheating people, you really don't like the cop on the beat, right? If you have in mind some new way to defraud people, you really hate that cop on the beat. And if you're one of those people who just thinks government never works, government's terrible, government sucks, you actually don't like an agency that returns $21 billion directly to families who got cheated, because that's showing you government works. So the CFPB has kind of been right in the crosshairs for the cheaters and the people who want government to fail. And now this is their chance to go after it.
And so why are these Republicans, why are the Russ Votes of the world, why are the Elon Musks of the world so hostile to this agency?
Yeah, so...
Because these are people, by the way, who are barreling ahead under this pretense that they're going to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah, waste, fraud, and abuse, right? Now, again, go back to what you said, because you had it exactly right, Brian. Let's do this against the background of, in a dozen years, that little agency, since it was built, has returned more than $21 billion. That means they found $21 billion of cheating and fraud, and they didn't just keep the money, they actually had made these institutions return it directly to the people they cheated. So let's talk about Elon Musk for just a minute. Elon Musk, as you know, he bought Twitter, and he's just lost money hand over fist on that investment. So he's had a better idea, better from his perspective, and that is he's going to do X money. And the idea here is he's going to be everything on the financial side and social side for everybody in the country, maybe around the world if he gets the chance. There's just one bump in the way, and that's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's not that they say no. You can go ahead and build a new tech platform, a financial system, good for you. But you've got to follow the basic rules of not cheating people, not lying to people, and not sucking up their personal data and selling it to somebody else. Yeah. He doesn't like that. So he's announced he's going to do X. What a great idea. Move the bump out of the way before you start. You know, it's a little like a bank robber saying, oh, before I go into the lobby with my sacks that I'm ready to fill up, I'm just going to fire the cops.
Yeah.
And now I'll go in and take the money.
And so how successful is he going to be in this venture? Because we've seen a lot of this conflict thus far, where we see the Trump administration say that, okay, we're going to disband this agency, we're going to disband USAID, we're going to disband the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. A lot of that is butting up against court orders preventing them from doing that. And so where do we stand right now in terms of the actual viability of the CFPB?
Okay, so remember, we built this thing when it was already under stress. Big banks didn't want it. They wanted to be able to continue to cheat people. Republicans didn't want it. They didn't want to show that government could work. So we built it tough. That's how I like to think of it. We got the right thing passed into law. Right now, shutting down the CFPB firing all the cops, or at least putting them all on leave so there are no cops out there on the financial beat, is illegal. I don't mean it's like kind of, or maybe, or arguably. No, it's just illegal. So we got the system built the right way. Now what we need are the courts to enforce the law, even against Elon Musk.
Elon has come out and said that he wants the funding for the rest of the year, roughly $710 million for the rest of 2025's funding, for that to be rescinded as a way to kind of starve the agency of the funding it needs to keep operating. Obviously, the purse strings are controlled by Congress, even though we've seen Republicans contract all of their autonomy over to the executive branch. But where do we stand right now in terms of his ability, or the Trump administration's ability, to be able to legally starve funding of the agency and kind of kill it that way?
So let's do a little good news, right? I know right now we're having to do a lot of bad news. One of the pieces of good news is actually the agency has a surplus right now. So it's got some gas in the tank to keep running. But the second part of this is that we built this agency, like all of the banking regulators, outside the reach of congressional funding. Again, it's all in the law. If we can get the courts to enforce the law, the agency will have the money it needs.
Do you have any worry that even if the courts do opt to enforce the law, that it'll be discarded, ignored by the Trumps and Elons of the world?
Okay, now you really are in constitutional crisis, right? Because as you know, we have 3 equal branches in government, and Congress gets to initiate these laws and write them up. President signs them into law, and then is supposed to carry them out. And the courts make sure that the administration behaves legally. I mean, that's just kind of the basic deal. If Donald Trump decides, or if Elon Musk decides, I'm not doing it, I'm not obeying a court order, now you haven't just violated the trust of the American people, you literally have broken the Constitution. So that's what's at stake here. Right now, even Republicans for whom with an x-ray you could not find a spine in these folks, even those people, when get stopped in the halls by even media and stick a microphone in their face, they say, whoa, 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 on that one, obey court orders. And if you don't like the court orders, one of my Republican colleagues said, that's why God invented appellate courts. You go ahead and appeal, but you got to follow the law.
Do you have any worry that as we see the goalpost shift and the Overton window go further and further and further to the right, do you have any worry that the same people who are right now saying whoa, 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 that's our red line, that in kind of the same way they've contracted all of their autonomy to the White House thus far, that they will kind of accede to his demands and say, well, you know what, we don't agree with this court ruling, and so we should just go ahead and ignore it anyway, even though prior to that we had said that's our red line.
That's our red line.
Yeah.
Look, Brian, of course I'm scared.
Yeah.
Of course I am. These guys have proven over and over. If you had asked me, we've been sitting here 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, even sometimes 6 days ago.
And that's why I asked, because I feel like I want to get ahead of the, well, they couldn't possibly do this talking point, and get to the point where we know that a lot of them do ultimately get to, which is that Trump says jump, they say how high.
Right. So I want to go back to something you said that was really, really smart as you were laying it out. You said the Overton window keeps shifting.
Yeah.
Our job is to keep it shifting the other way too. You know, one of the things that's happening right now, that little agency that has returned $21 billion that these giant banks have cheated people out of, you and I know about it. A handful of people know about it. We bless them, we cheer them on, but they're not very well known. Now, a whole lot more people know about them. A whole lot more people are speaking up and saying, wait, what the hell? I want a car loan without thinking at the end of the day I'm going to pay and pay and pay, and then they're going to come get my car. That as we get out and make the case for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as we get out and make the case for why, for our financial dealings, it's hard enough out there. For our financial dealings, we want a cop on the beat. What we're doing is we're opening that window. I get it. The right is pushing it their way. We're pushing it our way. And it matters. At the end of the day, Trump, how much is he listening to courts? But he listens to the rest of the country.
Right.
Our job is to get the rest of the country stirred up over this.
So to that point, I think it's important that we understand the argument that Republicans are using to try and detract support from the CFPB. So, and this has been tough for me because usually you can glean a little bit of what their excuse, their justification is, even for trying to star funding from USAID and some of these other agencies. But the CFPB is just an agency that protects people from predatory banks and financial institutions.
Right, it's just a cop.
And so I am curious to know, what is the excuse that they're trying to use to discredit this agency?
So this is actually the fun part. You put your finger on something really important. It's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's what it's been from the beginning. They've been to the Supreme Court twice. It is unconstitutional. And even their Supreme Court, the one that the Republicans all put in place, said, back up, boys. It's just fine constitutionally. They stand up in Congress and say, I am introducing a bill today to get rid of this agency. And it goes nowhere. And you know why it goes nowhere? Because a lot of people are being helped by the agency. Because literally tens of millions of people have gotten money back that they've been cheated out of, and they think, pretty damn good. And lots of others don't get cheated because that financial cop walks the beat. So I would tell you a coherent argument if I had a coherent argument. The most coherent one I ever hear is, in effect, it's government, so it must be bad.
Yeah.
And I think that is really their wish, is that we have one example after another of government not working. And the good Lord knows there are a lot of cases where government doesn't work. There are cases where there's waste in government. And we need to clean that up. But the reality is that little agency, and they gave it the most awkward name they could, so it's hard to, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, right? CFPB, that little agency is a sliver of light that just says, we're here to just kind of level the playing field. So you want to make a decision about what car you want to buy or what a financial app you want to use on your phone. We're just here to make sure in the background they're not robbing you blind.
The mission of an agency like this, and agencies like that more broadly, is so clearly beneficial to Americans. Are there some Republican colleagues who, look, I get how this benefits somebody like Elon. I mean, you laid it out perfectly clearly how he would derive some benefit from the elimination of this agency. But are there Republicans who, for example, don't own a social media platform and aren't looking to be able to subvert financial regulations to be able to introduce some new form of currency, of digital currency, who could say, look, no, this is a good agency. We've returned billions of dollars to the American people. This is something I'm going to put my foot down and protect. Or is the political pressure from Trump world too great that even your Republican colleagues are saying, yeah, I got to toe the party line here?
Yeah, and it's the latter. It's that people understand this. You know, I talk to Republicans and they get it. They understand we need, for example, ultimately it's good for everybody if there's stability in the mortgage market, and not if 1 out of every 3 mortgages, and by the way, it'll look just like the other 2 on its face, in fact is cheating people and will cause them to lose their homes. That's not good for anybody. And most of them ultimately understand that. But we live in a world right now where they don't want to hear it, they don't want to see it, and they don't want to speak about it.
Yeah. Senator Warren, thank you so much for taking the time today.
You bet. It's good to see you.
You too.